I feel really like conflicted about making this video kind of heavy, and just because there's so much going on in the world. There's lots of conflicts going on, people losing their lives, the cost of living, people losing their lives from the cost of living, and not getting access to medical treatment. There's a lot of heavy things going on. So, like, to quickly make this video about trans issues and what I'm going through, it just feels like a bit self-absorbed, and I kind of apologize about that, but I just need to get a voice out. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, I don't mean it like that. Yeah, I'm not in a good place just now. I'm going to quickly fire through this. I'm going to be very snappy, and we'll see how we get through and condense all of this. But yeah, essentially, this kind of stems even before the UK ruling. And just to say that Laura and I have a baby now that came 3 weeks early, and the day before, the day before he was born, I was at work and about to get signed off for a few days for mental health well-being. And people that have known me in the past, working in civil engineering, I was hardly ever ill, even with like physical ailments. Very healthy, and I just battling a lot of things on different fronts, and it's exhausting, and it's like being bitten by a bunch of hyenas that just are relentless. So I'm going to quickly do this. And to kind of give my thoughts of where I am at the moment, it's kind of like I am looking over the cliff edge and thinking about jumping in terms of like detransitioning. I don't want to jump off that cliff, but just the way that things are going, I'm feeling like pushed off, and if I don't jump off, the whole thing is going to collapse, and there's going to be a world of hurt and trouble. I'll get more onto that, but just to kind of quickly jump on this point, which is like, in all of this debates and everything of late, like, trans people are not one homogenous people, and there's lots of influencers out there, and people might see things or see a trans person act a certain way, whatever, and we all get labelled the same way. And trans people can be their own worst enemies, because there's a lot of people online giving their anecdotal experience, and as if it's a sweeping statement for all. You have trans people being transphobic, saying certain things about who they are and how that makes other people not trans. And then you have trans people who are even good people, like genuinely well-meaning people who are accepting, but they also like are hurting the cause with like factually inaccurate statements, such as saying like a trans person can't change their sex. You can. I'll get onto that in this video. And you have trans people saying things like dysphoria doesn't exist, they didn't experience it, and so other trans people who didn't experience it are saying it's a medicalized term and it's gatekeeping. It's not true. I experienced it from a very early age. I know I was different, had to hide a lot of things, had to things that I've not that things I don't need to share, but things I still haven't even shared of what happened in those experiences. And trust me, as someone that looked forward to going through a male puberty because I got hyped up by my dad, that's another indicator once your body starts to actually change with sexual characteristics. My body knows, or my head knows. So it's a thing, and it's diminishing, and we diminish other people. So kind of like saying Norwegians represent all of Europe. Can you imagine that? Like saying Norway, the country, is the embodiment of Europe, with its food and its languages and different people. It's not, and that's how trans people were all lumped. There's some people that have dysphoria, physical dysphoria like me, and we change our sexual characteristics. We're transsexuals, so we're changing sex, not so much to do with gender. And there's other people who don't have any issue as such with their body, but feel misplaced and then assume the gender normatives are assigned to the opposite sex and feel more at peace with that lifestyle, and then living as their true self. That's what I really hate as well, is when people say, "Oh, you identify." I don't identify as anything. If you've seen my story coming out, it's consistent, and I've thought that I was actually being tormented by evil spirits when I was super religious. Fun fact, I'm not. But yeah, we say things that are putting other people down. We should just really go on past research and go with academia on this. And I'm going to try and present that information. So don't just take things that I say off as like the gospel or representing all trans people. Similar like paracetamol. We take paracetamol for all different types of pain. It's like turning around and saying that people take hormone treatment for one type of pain. And that's not the case. You wouldn't just say you take anyone that takes paracetamol, it's because they've got back pain. Everyone that takes paracetamol, it's because it's back pain. That's not what happens with transitioning. People transition for different causes, and that's totally misunderstood. But we're all grouped together, and I get that we're fighting a lot of the same things, but there's different causes, and those causes need to be acknowledged and need to be treated. So trans people, not always the best to listen to or to follow or to help each other, and that's a gripe, or just let people be aware of that. Just go with actual factual information that is not involved with government policies, as like the CAS report was. And that sounds a bit judgmental of me. I'm going to try and do my best, even though I'm trans, not to have any to diminish my biases and my biases, whatever. I'll try and do it very neutral, because I have shifted from being what would be like maybe a central right person who was very Christian fundamentally and opposed to same-sex marriage when I was younger, to like where I am today. And you don't do that just from like going necessarily YOLO or my emotions mean everything. You're going to see some of the stuff that helped me learn and be more educated, and even for myself became less homophobic and transphobic over that period. So let's get on to the bars and the dual standards as well. There's lots of double standards on trans people. The bar set very high and the goalpost moves. There are cis women who are serial murderers, who have molested children, who have been a part of paedophilia rings, photographing children and doing heinous things. There is women who have attacked other women and boiled them and stabbed them in bathrooms, or even I think there was an attack recently at school ground, and assaults. It can be vicious. None of them have lost their rights as women. They're still women. Whereas trans people, like any spectrum of people, there's good and there's bad. If anything, we have a little smaller criminal rate for probably for severe crimes. For petty crimes, probably higher, like stealing, because medicine is expensive, and I can imagine people probably stealing to get money to do things like that. But the point being is, there's no norm. There's good and there's bad people. But if one trans person does one bad thing, that represents all trans people, and we lose, and we're the danger and the threat. And that's the double standard. No one's talking about taking away these women's rights, but you're going to take away my rights. And the goalposts keep moving, because as time gets on and treatment gets better, people are transitioning better and better. There are people who are able to only go through the one puberty that is with their reassigned sex. So if you were born assigned male and you are a trans woman, and you're lucky to have gone on blockers as a teenager and then take the cross-sex hormones, your skeleton, your body, everything is in line with that sex. And we'll apart from sexual reproduction organs, but we'll get on to that point. But even then, people are like, you're still not a woman. And even at that point, you're probably at 7 years old, being socially living as a girl and being treated that way. And to people go like, oh, you're not really had the hardships, blah, blah, blah. It's just preposterous. You're just, again, moving the goalposts. There is sexual reassignment surgery, not gender affirming surgery, sexual realignment surgery, where trans men get penises, trans women get vaginal canals and a vagina and a clitoris, fully functioning, and people are like, you're still a woman, you're still not a woman, it's just an open wound or whatever, and other medical treatments that cis women get to help them, even like breast augmentation, that makes you less of a woman to trans women. And just to give you an example about me, is that I take estrogen and progesterone, my breasts are developed naturally, I have milk ducts developing, and I could express milk if I got into like a practicing routine or a regimen with it, which I was trying to do for our child before they came early, but I'll get a bit more onto that. There's going to be a point where trans women might even get reproductive organs like a womb. It's happened for a cis woman. There's an operation in the UK where a cis woman got given a womb, a transplant, and we know trans women have tried that operation decades before. So it might come to us, we'll have similar reproductive capabilities at that point. If there was a machine like CRISPR that could change the whole chromosome of a Y to an X in the future, transphobes will still be saying you're not a woman, you weren't assigned a woman at that point, you can't be a woman, you're like a neo-woman, you're like a post-woman, like there'll be some kind of a caveat thing moving, and we can't do that. That's what transphobia is. It's always taking something that is, you wouldn't say for another group of people, but you would apply it to this group of people because you have disdain for them that is premised in your own beliefs or distastes, and that's not acceptable. We can't live like that. It reminds me a lot of, and this might sound a bit touchy, it reminds me a lot of the segregation that happened even in the US or South Africa, where black people were seen as biologically inferior or different, that they were a threat to come into white spaces. You had to protect the children and the mums, the women and children from them. It's like that separation. It's, again, coming back to this double standards, high unpassable bar, and the goalposts keep moving. So that's like the kind of pressure is put on to trans women in particular, because trans women don't really, most guys don't even flinch if a trans guy comes in and uses the urinal next to them. Like, yeah. Okay, biology, quickly go through this. 36 chromosomes, I'm pretty sure it's 36 pairs of chromosomes, and only one of them determines the sexual characteristics that we say is X and XY. People often go, XX makes a girl, XY makes a boy. It's not fully true. I'm not saying this out of like emotion or feeling. There is XXY, there is XYX or XYX. There's a whole bunch of combinations. While they're rare, or not as prevalent as just having XYXX, they do exist. And you also have within XX and XY mutations. So some of XY in the Y chromosome, there's a gene that helps say to trigger the penis and the testicles, SRY gene expression. If that is being compressed, I don't know if compressed is the right word, but anyway, if it's not functioning correctly, the person will go on to develop female genitalia, develop as a female, and same in some with XX chromosome. If there's a mutation in one of the X chromosome that picks up the SRY gene, in there they can develop masculine genitalia and features. You have to remember XX, the second X, is a copy of the first with same genes, different expressions. You take the healthier genes, or hopefully your body takes healthier copies across and switches the other one off. In XY, it's similar. The Y, because you have one X chromosome, you have all the gene expressions that a cis woman would have. Hence, why you're able to develop sexual characteristics, and you start off as female in the womb, as you probably already aware of. Everyone starts off a female in the womb. Where am I going with this? The Y chromosome has some duplicate gene expressions for the X, but it's missing a bunch. I don't know if it's completely Y. I think there's a little bit of a stub on it. The Y chromosome has a handful of additional genes that signal the body to develop the sexual reproduction organs to the different end, or to the penis and testicle. But those cells are actually the same. Like, a lot of people don't realize, but your penis head is the same tissue that's on the clitoris, and it's why when trans men take testosterone, their clitoris grows into like a shape of a penis head. Like, it's wild. You look at sexual reproduction organs, you can see the symmetry between the two. It's just because your hormone expression tells the body's building blocks where to build things. So if in the womb they were suppressed, the SRY gene wasn't there and couldn't signalize the hormones to start building the penis, you continue to develop as a female. That's a lot of information in But going back to developing as a female, people with XY chromosomes actually have represent structures of a uterus. Some people have it to the size of a walnut. It's right next to their prostate. It's called like the pouch. So there's like so much overlap over this, but we also know that the brain and sexual characteristics develop differently. So your brain, there's no difference between a male and a female in terms of like unique structures. What's different is the sizes and the density. So think of it like a house. We all have, whatever sex you're assigned, you all have a living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room. We all have the same number of rooms, but the sizes of those rooms and the density of the rooms are different. And when doing brain scans, and I'm not going to die on this hill because the brain scans haven't had enough samples, but what they show is people who have not taken hormone treatment yet but are trans, their brain pattern matches up with the sex that they state that they actually are, and vice versa. So it's quite possible that the brain, well, we know the brain and the sexual organs develop differently at different times in the womb, and it could be that at the time of the brain being development, the testosterone is not getting there, or the fact that your testosterone and estrogen sensitivity are kept actually in different chromosomes, not in the sex chromosomes. I'm pretty sure it's in the other 35 chromosomes that your sensitivity to that, and that might be why you end up with a feminized brain, a masculine brain. And we have people with different neurodivergencies like ADHD, autism, that when they're born, there's no birthmark on them, you can't see that. You have to wait till they're a bit older and you can see it in their behaviour, and doing psychology testing, and that way we determine, and we know these things are real. We don't say ADHD people are bad people or are naughty children. We also help have like medication for them and do lifestyle differences and changes to help support them. And it's the same with trans people, but for some weird reason we're undermined at the moment. So hopefully I've kind of shown like, yeah, sexually we're quite close, and that's why we can overlap between the two, and why you also can't just visibly tell that someone is trans, but why it makes sense in the head that someone like myself could have an innate predisposition to being in the wrong body, or feeling misplaced. I hate the word feeling because it's not something that like comes and goes with like happiness and sadness. It's there. And the way I managed it was putting things in boxes and locking those boxes, and anytime it came up, I'd have to do mental tricks in my head to get around it, and I did that for many, many years. Even to say like to acknowledge those boxes was to then admit it was there, so I had to lie about those boxes even existing in the first place, so that they didn't exist, so that thing didn't exist, and that's the kind of thing that would be happening. Okay, so we've talked about that. What is a woman? What is a man? Keeping away from gender normatives, because those are man constructs, or man-made constructs, which is to say you have like a vagina at birth or a penis at birth, and we expect you to live your life this way or that way, and you assume those roles. That's all. Like you can see that in different societies, even intersex people or people with kind of different sexual reproductive organs end up with different roles. We have eunuchs and things like this. It's all socially constructed. So talking about biology, male and female, just like in the wild, it's a scale, it's a spectrum, because as I've already talked about, genetics and different chromosome variations or mutations that happens in the wild with flowers. You get the same type of flower. They should all, not that they should all, but they typically all have 5 petals on them, but you have some with 4, you have some with different colours or paler colours, and that's them changing. That's natural. Like whether you believe in like in evolution, we know with like cancer mutations, like cells change, and not everything is aligned, and not like the body is hugely complex. To say that everyone's body works the exact same, or has the same functionality, it's not true. It's not true at all. So why do we come and do that with sex? But there is a spectrum, and there is an end to each spectrum. So like there is a complete vaginal canal, and ovaries, and uterus on one side, and you have, and this is sexual reproductive organs, and the penis, testicles, and then I said there's people that fall in the middle. Some people were decided at birth the doctor would rearrange their genitalia and then assign them in different ones, and we've seen people as they get older realize actually they were assigned wrong, because you can't force that on people, even people raised as a girl all the way up and on cross-sex hormones, again probably because of the brain thing that I talked about. They were born male, they were reassigned female because of their genitalia at birth not being fully developed in a way by textbook standards, and then they later in life found out that they were actually a boy, and that's how they felt all their life, and that supports the arguments I'm saying about transsexual people as well. There's also fat and muscle ratios. That's another, like fat and body ratios, skeleton bones. Those are on spectrums as well. And so like people who are assigned female at birth might not have all the sexual organs or might have big bones, and they fall different on that spectrum. There's overlap in sexual other characteristics, particularly second sexual characteristics like facial hair, and body mass. There's like a scale on that, and an overlap between the sexes. But we do have these extremes, and what we typically say is like everything on this extreme we call female, everything on this extreme we have male, and people assign those sexes at birth might still fall not completely there but pretty close, and we still call them female or we still call them male. But when a trans woman who may appear to be mostly on this end starts to take treatments and surgeries and other courses, like for me, I can change my voice, I can get rid of the stubble, take a long time for it to grow, but I'm petrified to go further with my feminization because I'm not going to be recognized and more rights are going to be taken, and I'm scared for our family because like things in Italy where they won't let the same sex couple have equal rights over the child, and where something like that would happen, and I'm trusting you as society to give me the legislation support to protect me, because we are a very, very small part of the population, which I'll get onto. But I basically say there's 1% of us. We're relying on 99% of you to help us be protected, because I can't do it myself. I can't fight everyone. I can't do it. I've got to work. I've got to pay bills. I've got a family to raise now. It's super, super challenging. But the point is, you can move across that spectrum, and you know, even people saying that female don't completely get that, and there's enough overlap. Not all females have uteruses or have breasts because of either they weren't born with them or something happened, but we still call them female out of respect as well, like, and compassion, and knowing that they're so similar anyway. Like to it's like choosing people in hair color and saying like, you don't have the same exact hair color, it might now be the same length, but because your hair color was this way and you've now dyed it this way, we're never going to recognize. Like, would you honestly look at someone who's dyed their hair red on the street and be like, oh, see that brunette down there, see that brunette person? You wouldn't do that, because even though they've dyed and changed their hair color, they might turn around and say like, oh, my birth hair, my natural hair color was brown, but I've dyed it red and I've been keeping it red. You just they're a redhead, because it just makes sense. Like you take an extreme point of view to be like that brunette when everyone can see that they're not a brunette. Maybe I don't know if that analogy is going to hit home quite close, but yeah, we've talked about sex and like transitioning across, and now my concerns over society is that here we're copying a lot of what's going on in America, where first the children healthcare is being attacked for trans youth, and that's happened here. And just to say, like, the puberty blockers that were used on very specific trans kids' cases are still in use today for kids that start puberty early. So like, it's not like that medication was blocked or anything, just the use for helping us was blocked, you know, like, come on. And then so that happened here as well, and in the US they did the toilets, and that's just happened here in the UK. In the US they're attacking adult healthcare as well as their roles in different government jobs, and that's also what I think could possibly happen here, which is why I'm on this like seesaw of like where to go, whatever, that cliff jump. I'm not ready to jump off. I don't want to stop what I've got. I love what I flourish, but yeah, I'm just. It's so much. It is so much. And as I said about the population in Scotland, the census showed that less than 1% of people were trans. Over half of those were people who were non-binary. So less than half of them were even trans women. So, but let's just say the 18 to 85-year-olds that answered that age range to the census. Let's just say let's double it, because not everyone answered it, something like that, and just say the whole 1% is trans women. That would mean if you put them inside cis women pools, that would put them or put them in the category of cis women, that would increase the population by 2%. It's nothing. It really isn't. Like, you really think a 2% swing like that is really going to take away rights or access for care for other women? To even say that trans women are less women and don't deserve the same rights, to even if you hold that point, do you really think 2% of us is really going to change that? Like, it's so much easy just now to change social policies when the world is so much on fire and people are losing out and people are struggling to buy homes and pay energy bills. It's so much easier to put that anger and gripe onto something superficial as trans people who have been using these bathrooms for many decades, have been in sports for decades and have not won Olympic gold. I think maybe one trans person many years ago won Olympic tennis, maybe. I can't remember, but they haven't won at the Olympics. You really think all of that is what's causing like all the world's problems at the moment? This is just, it's such a trope. It's a massive trope, but it's a distraction. It's easy for people to put anger on this than to fix the system, which means going after the people who have going after the very few minority that control everything. Anyway, I hear Argyle starting to wake up, and I need to go and look at Argyle and spend a bit of time. He was next to me, and I was trying to get this while he was sleeping, but maybe I could just quickly grab him. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful baby boy. Yeah, he is absolutely precious, and we are absolutely goddamn lucky to have this guy, and really grateful for all the help that we got with him, and just now particularly Lauren's sister is here helping us as well. Anyway, going to close this. Thank you very much.